Can you understand the dilemma of water resources in the world? Well, there is 71% of water resources all over the world. But when it comes to the distribution of freshwater resources, it is only 2.5% of the total water resource. That highlights the crisis of the water for humanity, for the living species. So, because of this water crisis and the increasing population, we are seeing that the water quality, water distribution, as well as water related stress is going to arise in the coming future. And not only that, the biggest issue that the world is facing now is basically the climate change. Due to the climate change, what is happening that the weather and the climatic pattern are changing. And remember that water is a very important pillar for the survival of the human species or any of the living species. And not only that, like the agriculture sector we are talking about, it is also very much dependent on the water resources. So the water crisis is not going to impact only the agriculture or other sector, but for the entire humanity it is going to affect. That's why the world is more focusing on the issue of water crisis, and the burden has been increased due to the rising impact of climate change. You are seeing the image here and how the crisis of fresh water you can easily visible, and this is the image from India. So you can understand, despite we have the groundwater facility, the surface water facility in the form of river, lake, but the actual problem is more deepening in the coming times because of increasing population along with various concerns by taking climate change into consideration. So in today's article we all are going to discuss on this very important topic. Hello and welcome you all to the Bajirao IAS Academy. Today is 16th of October and we will be going to discuss some of the important articles and the editorial discussion. So the first article will be related to addressing food and nutritional insecurity via addressing water crisis. If we are not able to address the water crisis in a correct way, that means it is going to affect our food and nutritional security, because all these are dependent on water. Okay, so we will be focusing on the important dimensions, how to find solutions and other aspects. Now the second article will be talking about closing the gender pay gap in the workforce. So when we talk about gender pay gap, it is a very big concern regarding the matter of equality. And not only that, why it is in news, it is all because the 2023 Nobel Prize winner, a woman, had done tremendous research in the field of finding the problems related to the gender inequality in the workforce. So the finding says that actually it is not only that household based discrimination is related to the low gender participation in the workforce, specifically women, but actually the transition to the different sectors of the economy in the history has also a role to play. For example, like the agricultural phase, here the women used to participate in the workforce along with the men. But when the work culture shifted to the offices, specifically in the manufacturing, where the participation of workforce is required ahead from the home, So the woman's role here started declining. But also, when there was again transition to the services sector, what was happened that again the participation of women started increasing, but that participation not led to the rise in the female workforce as was expected. So we will be try to understand all of these aspects. Now we are shifting to prelims rapid fire, where we will be discussing about the three articles. Okay, so slowly we will be discussing all of that, and you know that we have a rapid revision series where we discuss the important prelims question that had been asked into the previous year paper, and here we are taking the questions from 2023. There is a reason behind it, and it is all because that you should be aware about the pattern, which type of questions from which topic UPSC is asking the question. Okay, so the question is, consider the following organizations or the bodies in India. Statement 1, the National Commission for Backward Classes. Statement 2, the National Human Rights Commission. Statement 3, the National Law Commission. Statement 4, the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. And you are going to answer about how many of them are constitutional bodies. Okay, and remember that the pattern of options was changed by the UPSC, and now they are asking pair based question. So you have to answer whether it is only one pair correct, or the two, or the three, all, or the four pair is correct. So when we talk about constitutional body, whom do we call as constitutional body? Whose establishment is mentioned in the constitution? It is basic concept. Okay, and there are other bodies which we can call it non-constitutional body, and non-constitutional body can be divided into executive body or the statutory body. And when we talk about a statutory body, it means the body has been established by an act of parliament or the state legislature. Okay, and when we talk about the executive body, it simply means that via government resolution or the order it has been created. It has no statutory backing. Okay, so that is the basic point of distinction. Hope you understood. This is easy question, and this is basically you should answer this question. Okay, so we will be providing you the answer in the last session of the discussion, but try to solve this question and write this answer in the comment box so that other students get benefited from these discussion. Okay, be participatory in nature, and not only that, try to answer some of the question which we try to ask you during the session of the discussion. Okay, so let's start to begin our discussion, and also you have to attempt the mains question which has been asked in 2023 paper UPSC. Okay, and the question is, do you think that marriage as a sacrament in losing its value in the modern India? Okay, so in India we say that marriage is very much sacrosanct for the Indian society. Okay, but as our society are transiting to the newer world where the urban culture, the impact of globalization we are seeing, so all of these, do you think that marriage basically is losing its value? So you have to comment, you have to think in different dimensions, you have to understand by observing the society that whether these type of incidents are occurring or not, and you can also quote the examples to substantiate your answer. Okay, so that will add importance to your answer, that will add some important dimensions to your answer to try to answer in such a way. Okay, and you can also say some of the pointers and examples in the comment section. Now we are shifting to the article of discussion, and the first article will be related to GS paper 3, and it is related to the topic environment section and also the water crisis issue that we have discussed during the beginning. Okay, So when we talk about the water crisis, that means the world is facing the issue of water, okay, in terms of quality, in terms of quantity. And why today the article discusses about it is because basically on 16th October, that is the day of today, we celebrate World Food Day, and the theme of this day is water is life and water is food. That means our food security is dependent on water security, okay. And for that, there is a need to have an urgent action in managing water in a wise manner, because in today's world the demand of water resources is hyper inflated. Why hyper inflated? It is all because increased population, it is because increased agricultural activity as well as manufacturing activity and many more aspects. But also, what is the problem that the world is facing today? It is the biggest challenge, that is the challenge of climate change, because climate change is making the prediction of the climate difficult. And not only that, we have the issue that we are facing, like the issue of drought, floods, unseasonal rains and prolonged dry spells. You can also link this concepts and the points with the current situation with India. Okay, like during this monsoon season, some region has faced extreme flood like situation, and some region may have faced drought like situation. So you can link this is also basically a link to the climate change, and via this crisis we can have a definite impact to achieve our sustainable development goal target, because by 2030 we have to achieve basically the SDG goals. But if this crisis continue, that means it will be having impact in its enforcement, okay. And there are 17 goals, and they are related to sanitation, like ending poverty, ending hunger, all of that. And I try to always tell you that please do remember SDG goal, not for the prelims but for the mains, for writing conclusion, for writing good introduction, that will enhance that, you know, to link the concept, to link the answer with various ideology thinking, okay. So the need of the hour is to adopt innovative and collaborative approach for improved management, conservation and availability of the scarce water resource, okay. And the water availability basically affects every aspect of the human life. And when we talk about water availability, remember that it can be called in terms of water quality and water quantity. So the water quality and quantity is very important for the human life, and entire food and nutritional security is entirely dependent on water availability. Like one fact that we can quote, about 60% of India's net shown area is rain fed. Rain fed means it is dependent specifically on the rainfall, okay. And that region contributes about 40% of the total food production. And remember, let's say if any climate crisis is occurring, like drought like situation has occurred, so that means the food production in these region is going to affect. So what need to do? We need to promote the irrigation facility, we need to adopt ourselves, we need to adopt our agricultural system by changing the pattern of the climate, with respect to the changing pattern of the climate, okay. And to deal with the climate change impact on water vulnerability, we need to adopt to climate change. And for that we can have the latest technology and the practices, so that the rainfall production of the crops becomes more resilient and sustainable, okay. And we need to have the sustainable water management, that means promoting the irrigation and the irrigated areas in the coming times. And why we are talking about the sustainable water management, that we do have irrigation facility, but this irrigation facility also leaves much stress on the groundwater withdrawal. Okay, so we need to have a sustainable water management, and you can quote the data as well that the irrigated agriculture accounts for 72% of the global freshwater withdrawal. That is an important point. Okay, so this not only impact the human life, but what the impact that it does specifically to the agricultural farmers, and not to the agricultural, but we are coming more zooming in like the impact to the smaller scale producers. Because when we talk about a smaller scale producers world over, about 80% of the farmers at the global level is basically comprising of a small scale farmers, where they have lack of resources, money, financial aid, technology and irrigation. That means the burden of climate change impact is going to be very high on these farmers, and that may challenge their livelihood crisis. Okay, so this is the problem. And not only that, the world has about 40% of the land as degraded land. That means if the impact of climate change is going to increase, that means it will cause extra burden to these small scale farmers. Okay, so that is the issue. And now when we talk about a assessment which was done by the government of India on the impact of climate change in 2050 and 2080. So what was the assessment? The assessment was that if we are not able to adopt various adaptation measures, okay, so what will be the impact? So this assessment was done by the government of India, and you can find the fact surprising, like climate change without adequate adaptation measures, it reduces the crop yield, and also it lowers the nutritional quality. And the assessment says that if you are not adapting the measures, okay, against the climate change, that means rain-fed rice yield in India are projected to reduce by 20% in 2050, and not only that, by 2080 it is about 47% reduction. And when we talk about the wheat yield, it is also projected to decrease by 19.3% in 2030, and by 2080 it is about 40% reduction. And not only that, it is similar incident related to the maize production as well. Okay, so that means we need to have to adopt the climate change accordingly. Okay, so that is the point. And here we are also saying that various international organizations are cooperating to tackle the crisis. Like one thing we need to understand that promoting irrigation to make agriculture more resilient, and the support from various organizations we can see, like the Food and Agriculture Organization had started a pilot project where they developed crop forecasting framework and model, so that the farmers can have an informed decision that will contribute to the food security. What this framework will do, the framework will basically provide advanced informations along with weather patterns, whether the weather is good or not for the crop sowing or the crop harvesting. So this type of information will be provided, and it is getting implemented in some of the states as well. Okay, also the FAO is promoting climate smart agriculture practices to improve the water use efficiency. Now tell me, what do you mean by climate smart agriculture? Please try to comment in the comment section. Okay, and when we talk about another organization, that is your World Food Program, basically it supports soil and water conservation along with like building the irrigation canals, dams, ponds, dikes, as well as flood barriers via food assistance in exchange of labor. Okay, and when we talk about World Food Program, they are also promoting millets value chain, because when we talk about millets, it can be a potential solution to reduce land degradation, number one, also to deal with the water crisis, because the millet requires less water and they can be grown in dry conditions as well. So these are the benefits that can be provided by millets. And remember, International Year of Millets is being celebrated in 2023, That's why to raise the awareness about the millets adoption and the consumption, that is the point. And what are the steps that further needed, like the International Fund for Agriculture Development, this supports Indian state via ensuring that micro irrigation infrastructure should be developed, and these infrastructure must be environmentally, socially sustainable and also financially viable, because this will provide the adequate water resources that will be utilized for the irrigation purpose and for dealing with the social challenges that faces by the humans. Okay, and also political commitment is very much needed, as much as the concrete investment. Only investment will not help to cater the solution. There is a need to have a strong political commitment so that leaders can take the leadership, okay, in dealing with this crisis. And innovative and proven technology that is needed to ensure productivity enhancement along with more resilience to the climate shocks and sustainable irrigation. For example, climate resilient crops can be developed, research can be promoted. Okay, so that is the point. And also bring sanitation and drinking water supplies closer to the rural household. And there is also one important point, that we waste water in a very different situations, like while bathing or while using it for the kitchen stuffs. So there is a need to have a change in our behavior, and for that strengthening the institutional arrangements is needed, and capacity built up also needs to be done for sustainable and equitable water regulations, management and access and ownership. Okay, and you do know that let's say we had buy a land, and that means we have also buy the water resources, that is the groundwater resources there, and for that we get ample of freedom to extract groundwater as much as possible. And this also basically enhances the water crisis, groundwater crisis that India is also facing. Okay, so that means the per capita availability of water is also decreasing if we compare to the availability in 1950s with respect to the current year. Okay, so that is the point. We need to be have a more awareness protecting the water resources as much as possible. So that is the end of this article. Now we are shifting to another article. Okay, we have left some of the points. So some of the innovative initiatives that are being taken, like solar for resilience, secure fishing, and also revival of the millets for renewable energy promotion, food security and the nutrition. That is the end of the article. Now we are shifting to the second editorial discussion that will be covered under GS paper 1. Okay, so you know that the world has the population of both male and female, and overall the population distribution is almost equal. But when it comes to the women's participation in workforce, that is not equitable, and that is not equitable not only from today but from the earlier times. But now we are seeing that the women's participation is increasing, but not at the fast pace. So what is the reason behind that? Okay, like some of the region which was prevalent during the past times, like women were basically doing the home caring for the children. That means they will not get the time for the work, along with lower education as compared to the men. So these were the regions that were given by various analyst experts. But what changed after the latest 2023 economist Nobel Prize winner is that they had gone into the issue more deeper, and also they highlighted that this is the reason, but not only this, there are more complex and depth issue that are associated with the gender pay gap and the women's inequality in the workforce. Okay, so this is the important development, okay, that changed the thought process of various nations as well as various persons and the other dimensions. So when we talk about this much deeper and complex issue, so the latest economist Nobel Prize winner, that is Claudia Goldin, what she had did. Actually, she tried to analyze the 200 years of economy transition of the America, because in the 200 years what happened, that America transited from the agriculture sector to the manufacturing sector to the services sector. So what the conclusion she drawn is that when the shift was from agriculture to the manufacturing, so the women's participation in the workforce started declining, because in the agriculture that was nearer to the homes, women were able to participate in the agriculture, but in the manufacturing where they required the distant places to go, and also these were very much laborious tasks for work, so these caused the decrease in women's participation. Okay, so that means the second phase, that means from agriculture to the manufacturing, excluded women from market activities. Okay, and when we talk about the transition to the third phase, that is the last phase from the manufacturing to the services, so you can understand that services sector basically having like the growth in education and the hospitals where women's participation started to increase. Okay, so that is the point. But after analyzing much deeper, she understood that despite that the services sector increased, women started entering the workforce in higher number, but this was not able to convert into more female jobs. That's why today we have the gender disparity in the workforce. Okay, despite we have the services sector, okay, increasing women's participation, but this trend is going from the development of services sector as well. So that means the problem is much more deeper. So what is the problem? We need to understand. The problem is basically women are overburdened by responsibility. Even in the work culture, let's say a woman goes to job, joins the job, but there the responsibility becomes much more higher. They need to have a long hours of work, they have unscheduled meeting and many more nitty gritties, and this may cause the compromisation in the parental responsibilities. Okay, and you know that the present society is more inclined towards women in dealing with the parental responsibility. So women gets tasks of parental responsibility and they need to sacrifice their career. Okay, so that is the point. And also this gives indirect advantage to the male person for the job recommendations, promotions, higher salary, because they can work for the long hours, unscheduled makings, and dealing with other uncertainty that woman faces challenges. Okay, so that is the point. So here the comes the concept of mommy track. What is the concept of mommy track? It is actually that uh, when when there is a marriage, okay, so there is male and there is female. So in the society, in the present society, there is a trend that male will go for the work and female will handle the house responsibility, okay, parental responsibility, child responsibility. So here women basically is sacrificing their career for their parenting responsibility. That concept is known as mommy track. Okay, and this is not a nature's rule that women should have these responsibility. Even male can have this responsibility, but our society has aligned these tasks to women, and that's why woman is not able to become free from these circumstances. Okay, along with certain family duties they need to have with. Okay, so what is the conclusion? That men remains free to concentrate on their careers and women remains in their houses for the parental responsibility. And also this gives rise to income inequality, which forego gender equality, which eliminates gender equality. Okay, so you can see that how the rise to income inequality gives end to gender equality within the household. That is the point you need to understand. And when we talk about India's scenario, so you can understand that with respect to India, we have shifted directly from agriculture to the services sector. We have basically not promoted the manufacturing much more pace. That means that if you try to observe the findings of the present Nobel Prize economic winner, that means the scenario is very favorable for India to have a more participation of women, because here the manufacturing sector was not promoted, but services sector is getting much faster development. So despite of all of that, women's employment rate in India is remaining low, but there is no reason why this trend must continue, because we should have to understand that there is a proper growth of services sector that can offer jobs for the women. Okay, that was not offered by the manufacturing sector. Along with women's having the rising education, whether it is primary, secondary, or the higher education, and also declining fertility, so that women can free up their time for the work. Okay, because it is also one of the problem that if you raise 2 child, 3 child, 4 child, that means women's parental responsibility increases. That means their prospect towards career development, jobs decrease, because the responsibility becomes more burden. Okay, so that is the point. And how can India take advantage of it? And there are certain points like increasing the male participation in household and child care work. Definitely equality means that both husband and the wife need to cooperate about the child care work or the household work, so that equality prevails not only in the economy but in the society, but in the household. Okay, so that is the point. Along with, we need to find ways that reshape the work and the social environment, so we have to have work life balance. Otherwise, you can see in India that in the private sector, that a bigger philosophy runs that if you join the private sector, that means the company will take advantage more from you by making you to work for the long hours. This is the prospect that prevails. Okay, so that is the point. So there is a need to have a work life balance. Okay, so that women can also ensure participation in the workforce, and we need work culture that are respectful of the workers time. Okay, and also do not emphasize very long working hours, so that both male and female can get the proper work life balance. Okay, so that is the point. And as highlighted by the Stanford economist John Pankabel, that despite the companies try to have longer working hours, okay, but that doesn't mean that the productivity in the jobs is going to increase. Even in some of the jobs, they highlighted that it leads to increased mistake and injuries. So these findings need to be understood and need to be adopted in the companies as well. Okay, and also we need to have a reforms in various institutions, like reducing the parental role in supervising homework from the schools, because this also takes much of the time. Okay, by addressing these type of scenario. And also there is a need to make available work nearer to the home, so that people do not go farther distance for the work. They should have the like the work which is nearer to the place of living. Okay, so that can be the suggestion that needs to be adopted. So we have discussed all of the article. Now we are coming to the short-term news, and here I will be asking you some of the question. First of all, we will be discussing about the context. So Kaziranga National Park, which is in the news. So first of all, where this is park located, and for this park, which important species is very much highlighted here. You have to research on these questions. Okay, and in which state this national park is located. And the most important point I want to ask you, that whether this national park is located on the north of the Brahmaputra river or the south of the Brahmaputra river. Okay, so that is the point. Here I am telling you one of the answer, that it is located in the Assam, but other answers you need to answer. I may answer the question, but I request you to please answer the question, so that your revision should go through the discussion as well. That is the point. Okay, so now we are shifting to the second article, that is estivation or the estivation. So what is this concept estivation? This is basically a biological phenomena whereby the animals enters a long period of dormancy, meaning they does not do activity, they become silent. Why become silent? Because the external environment is not suitable for them, because of the season change, temperature change, okay, or even the extreme like situations like drought conditions. So it is basically survival strategy that helps the animal conserve energy and water at a difficult time. And during starvation, the animal often seeks shelter in a cool underground burrow, okay. And there are various examples like they perform the estivation, like we have the West African lungfish, we have the desert tortoise, okay. So that is the point. And tell me about the desert tortoise, whether it have its habitat in India or not, because this type of questions UPSC do ask in the prelims question. And now we are coming to the end of the article, that is the third topic of the prelims, large language models. So basically you may have used chat GPT, Google Bard, okay, or the Facebook Llama. So what are all these? These all are large language models. And what does large language models means? It means simply that the huge data has been inserted in them, and based on the data analysis, the concept of artificial intelligence also have substituted here, and from that they try to answer your question, okay, in a human way, in a the human tries to give the answers, okay. Like when you ask any question from the chat GPT, tell me the solution of this question as per the UPSC pattern, so they will try to give answer in terms of introduction, main body, conclusion, okay. And why this are able to give the answer in this format? Because the data which has been inserted here has been trained to answer in that manner what is demanded. So that is the important point to understand. And remember about large language models and the role of artificial intelligence, which is increasing in the current scenario, and that may become a solution, and that may become a problem in the coming times. We will going to see all of that, okay, because the world of artificial intelligence that we are fascinated about has both its challenge and the benefits. Challenge is like they can also increase the cyber crimes, okay. They can also track our data, that means violation of our privacy, and also the security can be threatened not by the physical equipments like rockets or the like defense product, but from the artificial based robots, okay. So that is the point. So there has its own challenges and benefits, we need to understand in both the angle. So this is the end of the article. Hope you understood, hope you enjoyed all of the discussion, and if you enjoyed, please do like, share, subscribe, and if anything needed, please try to comment in the comment box. Thank you, we will be happy to reply that. Thank you friends, thank you very much, have a nice day.